Hello and welcome to FidelityNext, our webcast that helps take students to the next level. I'm Tamara Radachai, your host for today's episode. Welcome to part 2 of our summer student panel, where we're sitting down with a couple more guests currently enrolled in our student program and getting their thoughts and insights into what it's like working at Fidelity Canada. Today we're here with Jessica Hungate on the institutional distribution team and Regan Blair on the compliance team. As always, if you have any questions throughout today's discussion, please drop them in the comments and we'll get back to you after the show. Jessica and Regan, welcome to the FidelityNext stage.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, so before we dive into your career journeys, we're going to do what we did in our last show and do a little rapid fire round.
Amazing.
With the both of you. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions just to get to know you, and we're going to put 30 seconds on the clock. You'll have 30 seconds. Jessica, we will start with you. If we can get 30 seconds on the clock, please. And here we go. So, cats or dogs?
I'm going to have to go dogs.
Coffee or tea?
Definitely coffee.
Your favorite place that you've traveled?
There's quite a few, but I would have to say Paris and New York tied for first.
Your favorite way to unwind?
Definitely at home with a good book.
Describe Fidelity in one word.
I'd say purposeful.
And that's time. All right, thanks so much. Regan, on to you, and you have different questions, so get ready.
I'm ready.
30 seconds on the clock, one more time. Here we go. Morning person or night owl?
Definitely morning person.
Your favorite subject in elementary school?
Art.
Me too. Your go-to coffee order?
Caramel latte.
Your favorite way to spend a Friday night?
Dinner on a patio.
And your favorite part about Fidelity?
The people.
One more question. Your last vacation destination?
Aruba and Curacao.
Amazing. And that's time. All right, thanks so much for that. We'll put this away for now. All right, back to business. So Jessica, if you could start us off telling us about your journey to Fidelity, kind of how you came to be here and your background and the school you're in, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I came to Fidelity through a fairly conventional path, but maybe from a slightly unconventional background. So I'm currently going into my final year at Concordia, where I'm studying English Lit. So my background is very much in the arts. But I became aware of an opportunity on Fidelity's digital media team, which is within the corporate affairs department, last summer on just my school's job board. And I was coming off the back of several both extracurricular and also internship experiences kind of in marketing and communications. So I thought, okay, this sounds like it would be a really nice complement to that. And sure enough, it was. So while I was on the digital media team, I spent a lot of time behind the scenes on webcasts where we obviously have an amazing panel of industry experts that come and speak to both an advisor and institutional audience. And so over the course of being involved in those, I just became really curious about kind of the more technical, call it asset management side of what Fidelity does. And I had a good relationship with a student who was in institutional last summer. I decided that that was something I wanted to learn a bit more about. And so was lucky enough to get a spot there for this summer. So that's where I am now.
Love that. And Regan, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm currently enrolled at the University of Waterloo in the Honors Arts and Business Co-op program. And several of my family members, neighbors, friends are in the financial services industry. So Fidelity's kind of always been a household name for me, but I didn't really have a great grasp of, who they were and what they did. So when it came time to start applying for co-ops, I decided to look into the company a little bit more and saw that they offer co-ops for students. So I ended up applying. I interviewed for the advisor sales position, but I was ultimately placed in FCC in the service delivery and client support department, which I definitely think was a better fit for me. I don't think I would have done well in sales. And that's where my journey started and haven't looked back since.
Really cool. Well, we'll come back to that in a moment. And just for reference, FCC stands for Fidelity Clearing Canada, to
Yes,
those
thank
who
you.
don't know. All good. Okay, so Jessica, as a returning student, I know you had probably two very, very different experiences within the departments that you were at. You briefly mentioned what you did on digital media team. Can you tell us what it's like on the institutional team?
Totally. So I think for a new person coming in, and I've told this to people who are currently on my team, it's very much like learning a new business. But I was lucky enough to have some really amazing and supportive people around me who were more than willing to answer any question and really encouraged me to get curious about what we were doing. So just for context, every single department that exists on the retail side of Fidelity's business exists within institutional. So in institutional, we have products and marketing, we have client relationship management, consultant relations, sales, transitions, so all these amazing teams, and it's really allowed me to kind of dip my toe into a little bit of everything, which is exactly my kind of idea of a perfect internship experience and something I tried to do also in corporate affairs. But in terms of the specifics of some of the stuff I'm involved in, so I do a lot of work with our transitions team, which is basically involved in every single cash transaction that happens with our clients on a day-to-day basis. So it is very heavy lifting, and I admire the people on that team so much. So anytime a client will make a purchase into or a redemption out of one of our funds, they are involved in every single aspect of that. And so I help to kind of capture and book those trades. I've also worked with our product team to help with some financial reporting, which has been really interesting and certainly very different from anything else that I've done. I've also worked with our marketing team because Fidelity sponsors quite a few conferences. So we want to make sure that we're accurately kind of capturing who is there and what those interactions are like if there are new people at the conferences, and kind of communicating that information to the senior leaders on the team in a way that is engaging and kind of impactful. So there's a lot more that I do, but those are just some examples, and it's been a really good time so far.
That sounds really well-rounded.
Yeah.
Regan, I know you've been in a few different departments, but can you tell us about your work with the compliance team and maybe give us a little high-level explanation of the difference between compliance and legal and procurement? I know they all work really closely together, so just to clarify that for us.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm currently reporting into the sales compliance team, but I'm actually shared between the three teams in compliance. So there's sales compliance, corporate compliance, and then operations compliance. And so just to give a bit of an overview of what those teams do, our sales compliance team is responsible for exactly what it sounds like. They're responsible for ensuring that our sales teams across Canada are complying with regulatory requirements as well as our internal practices and policies. Our operations compliance team is involved in, a number of different activities across the business. Just a few that come to mind include sales communications, short-term trading, privacy. And then our corporate compliance team is responsible for the corporate compliance activities. So that includes things like anti-money laundering, our institutional accounts, and also just reviewing any regulatory updates or other related policies. And then the difference between compliance, legal, and procurement. The lines can definitely get a little bit blurred between the three, and there is a lot of overlap. But there are distinct differences as well. So the legal team is responsible for all things inherently legal, so things like litigation, contract renewals, just reviewing contracts in general as well, fund disclosure. Our procurement team is heavily involved in our suppliers and vendors, so whether that be relationship management, onboarding, renewing contracts. They also support the legal team with legal documentation and legal negotiations. And then compliance is mostly focused on the regulatory landscape of Canada and just making sure that we're complying with all of the regulations put in place by the OSC or other regulatory bodies. So yeah, those are the differences.
Thank you. So you're both returning students. Jessica, if you want to get us started and tell us why you chose to come back to Fidelity.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think obviously accruing technical knowledge and technical skills is very important, especially within this industry. But something that has always played a huge has been a huge factor for me when I'm figuring out where I want to spend my time is how I feel when I'm around the people that I'm working with. So I think just from a cultural kind of fit perspective, it became very apparent to me early on that I was showing up to work every day excited to be around the people that I knew I was going to be spending time with. And I also think that contributes to you just being even more engaged and doing really good work. So I would say the culture immediately was just a fit for me. And then on the technical skills side of things, because that is very important, I was just really impressed right off the bat that Fidelity as a firm placed such a high premium on making sure that even its most junior employees were super well educated on how the firm is structured, how it runs, what the different departments are, what they do, what are our investment products, what kind of solutions are we hoping to offer to our clients. So that was just incredibly impressive as well, and all of that contributed to me wanting to spend more time here.
Regan, how come you decided to keep coming back multiple times?
Very similar to what Jess said. The people were a really huge factor in that. Another really big one was just all the opportunities to learn and grow as, a junior employee. There's so many opportunities, whether that be through the student program or through your actual placement. You're treated as a junior employee. You're not treated like an intern. And that was something that I really valued. Being able to get, actual real work experience here and not just being given like busy work for the intern was really wonderful. So yeah, just all the opportunities that there were to, learn more about the business, the actual role that you're in, the industry, and then grow your skill set as well.
And Jess, between the two back-to-back summers that you've been here in corporate affairs and then in institutional, what's a standout project that you worked on, or the types of different projects that you've worked on while you were here?
There's been quite a few. I think, unfortunately, just with some of the institutional projects, I can't go into a great level of detail, but I would say I have been able to help the sales team with some really interesting research just around some current client prospects that we have in our pipeline. So doing things like combing through annual reports, financial statements, specific papers that get written on areas, things like ESG that are important to various companies. And maybe that's just my English lit background that I like to do research and writing and that kind of stuff. So I think that's been great. And then something that's been really impactful for a slightly different reason is actually the work that I've done with the transitions team. My academic training is not one that has encouraged me to be necessarily super detail oriented when it comes to the reporting of numbers. And so when I work with the transitions team, it feels like I'm kind of working out another side of my brain where it's super detail oriented with just all the kind of financial reporting and tracking that gets done. So two very different projects, but I enjoyed them for different reasons. Yeah.
Really cool. Regan, you've been here for 5 co-op terms. You're actually on my team when I started, so you've been here longer than I have. Between those 5 departments, first of all, could you take us through all the different departments that you've been in, and maybe a standout project between all of them that was your favorite?
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned earlier, my journey started in Fidelity Clearing Canada and service delivery and client support. I've since moved over to the Fidelity Investments Canada side, first in human resources and corporate and community affairs. Then I moved over to marketing, specifically digital marketing. Then I moved back to HR, this time in talent acquisition, and then that brings us to now in compliance. So I've had a very diverse array of experiences, which has been really wonderful to, try on different hats and try out different possible careers. In terms of standout projects, again, very difficult to pin one down. I mean, I've had so many wonderful opportunities and had a chance to work on so much great stuff while I've been here. One that definitely stands out, though, is supporting the annual Fidelity holiday party. That one was really fun to work on. That was during my time with corporate affairs, and I worked very closely with the events marketing team as well. And so just getting to see all the planning that goes in for an event of that size, and then being able to see it come to life and see all the employees enjoying themselves was really rewarding. So that one was really fun.
Really cool. I love that. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about some of the different things that are offered in the student program. So I'm going to make it a little more interesting this time around. I'm going to ask you to bring your paddles out. So if you have participated in whatever I'm about to say, you can give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't done it, then you can give us the thumbs down. Not to say you give it a thumbs down, but okay. So first off is the case competition. All right, Jess, do you want to tell us about your experience with that?
Yeah, totally. So the case comp is kind of a mainstay of the Fidelity student program, at least in the summers. And so each summer you get a prompt or a question that you're being encouraged to explore in a lot of detail and kind of find a creative solution to along with your teammates. And it's fun for a number of reasons. I think for me, I've always really enjoyed getting to know people in different parts of the company. So I think that's one reason why the case comp is great, because you get paired with 7 or 8 other students from around the firm. And yeah, also you just get to expand your industry knowledge because the topics that you're investigating are topics that are current and kind of the moment. So yeah, it's a good time.
And Regan, what about you? What was your experience like with case comp?
Yeah, the case competitions are such a fun part of Fidelity and such a unique experience that they offer to their students. Last year, my team ended up making it to the finals, so that was really fun to be able to present in front of the senior executive team and just present all of the hard work that went into it. Again, this year, the prompt has been so fun, and as Jess mentioned, these are the problem statements are things that the company is actually hoping to address, so being a part of that change and being able to put forward solutions that the students are coming up with that might actually come to fruition is really exciting. For those who aren't aware, the Money Gain series was actually a winning case competition idea from a number of years ago. So just really exciting to be given the opportunity to tackle these really big problems.
And did you two ever cross paths during the case competition?
I don't think we've ever been on the same team, no, but I watched your team present last summer. Amazing job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next is the mentorship program.
Yes.
Okay, so Jess, you have done it.
Yes, so this is my first summer doing it. And my understanding of Mentor Match is basically a current, either relatively new full-time Fidelity employee, or in my case, like a student, gets matched with a long-time full-time Fidelity employee. And you get matched on the basis of a interest that is communicated by the mentee in the application. So you could be looking to build just your knowledge of Fidelity as an organization. You could be looking to build your leadership skills, your communication skills, and so you'll be matched accordingly. In my case, I wanted to continue to build on some of the kind of more technical investment knowledge that I was being exposed to on the institutional team. And so I've definitely been paired with someone who has been very just generous with their time and in answering my questions, and I've learned a lot more about Fidelity as a result, so it's been good.
Love that. And by the way, any employee can do it. Doesn't matter how long they've been there. It's open to anyone, and it's cool. You can apply to be either a mentor or a mentee, depending on what you're feeling like or where you are at your career. So Regan, you haven't done it. Is that something that you've thought about, or?
It's something that I've thought about. I honestly just keep, forgetting to
apply.
to put my name in for it. It does seem like a really great opportunity, and I mean, you've said that you've had just a wonderful experience with it. So I think it's great that this is something that Fidelity offers to its full-time employees as well as its students.
So, okay, the next thing, whether you've participated or not, is the Campus Ambassador Program.
Oh.
Jess, you want to tell us about your experience with that?
Yeah, for sure. So the campus ambassadors, in my experience, are kind of a liaison between Fidelity and different university campuses across Canada. So it's a great way for you as a student to both stay connected to the firm and kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what they think is interesting, projects that they're working on. And also it's a really great chance to just meet new people on your university campus. So as I mentioned, I'm very much in the arts and sciences world at my school, but through being a Fidelity campus ambassador, I've had some great conversations with people at Concordia in marketing, in finance, in economics, who just want to learn about what it's been like working in financial services, what it's like working at Fidelity. And so that, I think, is the beauty of the Campus Ambassador Program.
And Regan, what's your experience with the Campus Ambassador Program?
Yeah, I've just had a wonderful experience as well, especially being a campus ambassador on the University of Waterloo campus. We don't have a business school like some of the other institutions like Laurier, McMaster, those sorts of schools. So I would say Fidelity isn't quite as well known on our campus. So it's nice to be able to, promote Fidelity and spread the word about it and chat to different students. Especially when it comes time for the co-op cycles. It's great to sit down and have coffee chats with students and answer their questions and just encourage them to apply when it comes time, just because I think it's a wonderful place to work, and so encouraging other students to try it out as well is really wonderful.
Awesome, love that. And have you done that multiple times, or?
I think for almost 2 years cumulatively. Mm-hmm. So definitely after every co-op term, it's great to go back on campus and still be connected to Fidelity.
Love that. All right, so if you were to both take a step back and look at your entire journey with, your academic career, sort of what you had in mind for yourself when you got into school and, what you wanted to do with your career, and then what you did at Fidelity, have exploring some of these different departments, has it changed anything? Has it changed your mind or perspective on maybe where you see yourself in your career? Jess, you can get us started.
Totally. So I think that's a really great question. I would say I'm still very much trying to figure out what it is that I see myself pursuing once my kind of educational journey comes to an end. But I would say that the things that have remained through both of the summers that I've spent here are, I think I want to do something that's both creative and analytical in nature, which it'll be interesting, searching for something that fits that criteria. But I do think, so being in corporate affairs, being in institutional, two very different areas of Fidelity. But one thing that kind of stayed consistent for me was just the realization that it's possible to find ways to think creatively in virtually any area of an organization. It's just about the perspective that you take, and it's really important, I think I mentioned this last summer in my webcast as well, but just to think as expansively about your role as possible, because one of the most amazing things that you can bring as a junior employee is a fresh perspective, and you won't be able to do that if you're locked into a kind of rigid idea of, this is my job description, it's these 5 bullet points, and if I stray from that, oh no, So I think you always just want to be looking at what is the larger mosaic of what we're working on as a department, how do all these little pieces fit together, and then just trying to help out where you can. So, yeah.
And Regan, what about you?
Definitely. So I'm currently in school for legal studies. And when I originally started my undergraduate studies, I kind of had in mind that, I would take a pre-law program, I would take my LSAT, and then I would go to law school. And that stemmed from when I was in high school. I really enjoyed my law classes. So I thought, hey, this is something that I could see myself doing long-term as career-wise. But since having these different opportunities at Fidelity and different experiences, it's kind of broadened my mind in terms of the different career paths that I could see myself doing. So when I did marketing last summer, I ended up really falling in love with it, and I've kind of pivoted in terms of what I could see myself doing long term, and now I'm hoping to go into marketing. And that's not to say that maybe I won't end up going to law school down the road, but it kind of just opened my eyes to my other areas of interests, and so changed kind of where I want to go with that.
Yeah, right. It's nice to be open to the prospect of being able to change your mind and, shifting as you need to.
Yeah.
All right, really cool. So to end things off, if you could both give us some advice to other fellow students who are maybe thinking about a co-op opportunity. Jess, you want to start us off?
For sure. So I would just reiterate what I said in terms of thinking expansively about your role. I think that's incredibly important. The other thing I would say is just whether it's a job interview or fulfilling a work commitment or going into a conversation with your manager, you want to be prepared. Do yourself and the person that you're working with the favor of just doing as much research as possible and making sure that you understand the context in which you're speaking and operating. And I think also tangentially, that's kind of about respecting your own time and the time of the people around you. So I think, don't get locked into one idea of what you think your role is. So be expansive and then also just be prepared.
Regan?
In a similar vein, in terms of when you're actually going to apply to co-op jobs and looking during that cycle, really keep an open mind in terms of the jobs that you're applying to. It's really easy to, get this tunnel vision in terms of I want to work at this company in this field in this job. And you kind of limit yourself in terms of what you allow yourself to experience. As a pre-law student, I expected to be working in a law firm or in the legal field. But when I was applying, I, had an open mind and decided to apply to, some financial services companies as well. And it's turned out to be just a wonderful opportunity. So if I hadn't, had an open mind, I would have never had these wonderful experiences and tried out different careers and that sort of thing. So just really keep an open mind when you're applying and don't limit yourself. You never know, you might find something that you really enjoy that you hadn't expected.
Jessica, Regan, thank you both so much for joining us today for the delightful conversation. Not only was it a pleasure chatting today, but also working with both of you, because I've worked with both of you at some point or another. And thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today. We hope you're feeling inspired to be on the lookout for upcoming student opportunities. Our recruitment window for the winter term is between September 9th and 20th, so be sure to keep an eye out for ways to apply. If you want to rewatch the show or share with those who missed it, you can find it on Fidelity Canada's YouTube page under the Live Videos tab. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with our lovely panel, and we'll see you on the next episode.